Leon, did you watch Fallout or?
Yeah, I love Fallout Season 1. Huge fan. Fallout's one of my favorite game franchises, and I think Season 1 was brilliant, and people that were hating on it do not understand the lore of Fallout.
Oh,
No,
Leon,
I see.
Leon.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm sorry. This show has so. I watched a guy that covered the entirety of the fucking lore breaks that completely like. It's just like this. They didn't even get the premise of when the bombs dropped.
Yeah,
It's
they
like
did. How
well,
did they?
let me explain. There's a party going on, right? On the East Coast, the bombs dropped at 9:47 because that's in Fallout 3. All the clocks are at 9:47. You're telling me a party's going on at 6 a.m. on the West Coast?
Okay. That might be in Fallout 3. Fair enough. I won't lie. I don't remember the exact
Right.
time the bombs dropped, but that being said, Bethesda also retconned a bunch of stuff when they took over Fallout 3. So, I mean, I'm gonna be real. Retcons in Fallout have happened multiple times
Well,
throughout like 6 or 7 main games.
well,
A
even like
small detail like that, I won't lie, means next to nothing to me because whether the bombs fell at 6:30 p.m. or 6:30 a.m.
that's just the
really doesn't
start,
change
The
though.
anything in
minutia of
the
the
story.
detail, there will always be in any kind of adaptive work. There's always going to be, I love the living shit out of Metal Gear Solid series, right? But even within that, there will be little kind of bits where they go and they kind of something kind of changes because they're going and they're doing a game that's now taking 20 years, earlier from something that they did 20 years ago that was set in the future. There's always going to be some degree of that. Like I had not watched season one until this week, and with some trepidation, I kind of was like, you know what? I've heard good things, I've heard bad things about this. I'm just going to watch it and see how it goes through the experience. And in terms of the characterization, in in the way that it's done and it presents the world as it is and everything like that, nothing is perfect, and there will be certain kind of flaws, as you're saying, when you get into the minutia of the details. But in terms of presenting a Fallout story, I think it was actually pretty successful in that. And after having watched it the first time, I watched it again a second time to get a little bit more of an analytical take, so we could talk about this stuff here today. But I'm actually, looking forward to kind of seeing where this goes in season two, which is not something that I was even on my radar, 2 weeks ago at this point in time to where I would be with it. But I do know that there are a lot of people who kind of try to pick it apart and all this kind of stuff.
Well,
But
lore is everything in RPGs. Like that is what you go by. You don't like. I feel like
Right, but lore is still retconned in RPGs all the time as well.
I
Like
understand that,
Final
but
Fantasy's
to the
concept
level that Bethesda does it, like to the level Bethesda does it, is just remarkable. In the same game, okay, Fallout 4, let's take for example, Fallout 4, ghouls both don't need to eat or drink, and they do. There's a ghoul farm that you could take over as a settlement where all the ghouls need food and water in the system, right? But then you look at Billy in the fridge, and he's been trapped in that fridge for 200 years and yet somehow he didn't starve to death or anything. So like
right,
Well, again, I get what you're saying about the lore being important and whatnot, and I don't disagree with that. But it's not like the show has done anything more egregious than Bethesda has done, or than oh, I'm blanking on the original guy's name that made the
Black Isle
first.
Studio.
Yeah, but Blackout Studios. I used to know the actual developer's name, but like they've
Tim
changed their own
Kaine.
lore, but Fallout 1 and 2, and I like the point is, while changing the lore and retconning is a genuine criticism, applying it unfairly only to the show when the games have done it to
No,
themselves as
no, no.
well.
I completely hate everything Bethesda Fallout. Like, I do. I hate it all. Like Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas are my favorite games of all. Well, I guess like I would say that New Vegas is my favorite Fallout, but 2 and 1 are great too. Like and like I'm very much like I'm
New
the
Vegas
just
is still
like
Bethesda Fallout, though. I get it.
no,
Obsidian made the game and whatnot, but they made it with the oversight of Bethesda. That's like being like Legend of
no,
Zelda:
no,
The Mist
no.
had
They
Resonant,
didn't have oversight. They were completely left alone while they were working on Skyrim.
no,
They
they
were
had
completely working on
no. When I
Skyrim.
say hold on, I'm getting you wrong. I say they had oversight, what I mean is they have, as in they had like creative control. They had
Deliverables
veto
and things
power,
like
things
that.
like that. They like. did they trust Obsidian and maybe they left them alone? Sure, but did they have the power to intervene? Yeah, contractually, Bethesda could have stepped in and said, "Can't do this, can't do this." Like Nintendo did the same thing with Capcom when they made Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. And Nintendo's like, "Yo, Capcom, make this Zelda game," and Capcom made the Zelda game. But Nintendo is still the publishing power and control. They had veto power. It just so happens that Capcom's good enough at their job. Nintendo didn't need to step in or do anything. Same
I
with
just like I don't agree that it's like a Bethesda Fallout, like because it's clearly that like I feel like they left
the
them
entire
alone.
thing
I
is based on
understand they
how the
had
Fallout 3 engine and how the Fallout 3 plays out. I mean, if it's not Bethesda Fallout, why does it function exactly like a Bethesda
well,
Fallout game?
well, I think the difference is the story. Like Bethesda Fallouts are always like I consider Bethesda Fallouts 3, 4, 76, and Shelter, right? Like it's just like the story is dog shit. Yeah, they choose like gunfare over actual story. While in New Vegas, there are several different ways to do different quests. There are like different branching stories. There's like everything like
That
that.
exists in 3 and 4 as well. I'm very confused. I
Three,
can't
it
take
does not exist in. But four, it was
absolutely.
done so poorly.
How does it not exist in 3?
Can you name me a quest that actually like
Yeah, the
divulges?
final question, you go into the get the air out of the or to get the Gek working. You can either do it yourself or you can send in
Liberty Prime.
That was
not
added by a DLC. That was not in base game though.
added or not, is it there?
But that is that was a criticism at the time that you literally kill off your character while you have a
Blowing up
super
Megaton.
mutant.
Blowing up Megaton. Right at the beginning of the game, you're pretty much offered a quest that dictates the entire future of the game, whether you decide to blow up
But do
or
you
save.
really lose out on anything? Yeah, you can lose the
Yeah, you
bobblehead.
lose out on that fundamentally alters the direction of the story. What choice you decide to take with
Does
Megaton.
anyone? No, I know we're getting a bit heated, but like, does anyone actually reference Megaton being blown up through in Rivet City in like Canterbury Commons? And no one references it.
Yeah,
You might,
it absolutely is reference. Based on what decision you make, let's say with the ghouls in Tenpenny Tower, you'll have what's his name, murder, murder Tenpenny or not murder Tenpenny. Like these are all things that are affect the story. Like in any RPG has got side quests and whatnot that are not going to inherently tie to the main big bad evil guy. That's why they're called side
no, and
quests.
I'm not saying that it should tie into the Big Bad, but I'm saying like with the Megaton quest, right? The one to blow up the city. Nothing physical, like there's no like changes in the world. Like yeah, you might run across like the people who like there's like some militia or something that forms from the remnants and they might hunt you down, but like besides that there's
The girl
like there's
that
no
writes the
lore
Vault Dweller
changes.
survival guide, and the girl that writes the Vault Dweller survival guide in Megaton survives the blast if you choose to blow it up, and she fucking like she loathes you. She finds
No
you to be evil,
dude,
vile.
what? No she doesn't. She
Yeah.
literally still gives you the quest to do her quest. She
Yeah,
doesn't
but
hate you.
that's
She
for
doesn't even know you did it.
gameplay purposes, so you can continue getting like experience and whatnot. But like in universe and lore, the point is there's a ramification for the story. Everyone's dead except her. She's now the lone survivor of an atomic blast that took out her city. Like that's that. I would say there's a story implication there.
Right. And not
Well,
every
let's
choice
like
has to be earth shattering in terms of the way that it creates those fissures and things like that. But it's through the coursework of that decision now branches off to these possible decisions. But if you go this way, then you have these possible decisions.
well, I think
Sometimes you'll
we're
even still end up back at the same kind of thing, but for a different reason. You know, I know earlier when I was talking about this with other people, I was talking about how the adaptation of Zack Snyder's version of Watchmen, I think, is a serviceable movie. But there are a lot of
100%
people
agree.
who
Yeah, no, I love especially the director's cut. Like people are mad
yeah,
at changed the video. I 100% agree.
but there are
well,
people out there who freak out because it doesn't have the intergalactic alien aspect, and they're just like, oh, it's completely, and it's like, but really, can you just
well, I
kind of let
just
it?
like I just want to compare like the Megaton quest to something in New Vegas, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I won't choose any main quest related thing. We'll do a side quest, all right? So let's compare it to so let me think of a quest in particular
Well,
because
I don't even think there's a reason to do that because I actually agree with the New Vegas is better. I just think that
Right.
but
you're
I think
unfairly
that
characterizing
I
Fallout.
think my main point in comparison is really because when you like do a quest, like there are physical changes to the world. For instance, when you do the quest to let me think. So like the quest to actually I'm not sure if you know this quest, but like there's a quest to both solve the water problems, and then there's a quest for the radiation problem with the water when it comes to the sharecropper farm, right? Both of those, you need to complete both of those in favor of the NCR, or else the sharecroppers will just leave. They'll leave, like, and that's story driven. Like they will actually say, "Oh, we're leaving because these quests weren't fulfilled in the way they want." You compare that to Megaton, and no one in the rest of the world comments on whether you blow. I mean, your father does.
And that's fine. It was literally Bethesda's very first attempt at reviving a dead franchise.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's gonna have some
But
stuff
even
that's not,
if compared to Morrowind, and Morrowind is so much better. Like they're like literally they were
yeah, Morrowind's
good
a different franchise. I'm
before.
not talking Morrowind. That's an irrelevant
I
comparison.
understand that, but I'm just comparing. Like Bethesda was good. Like they were actually good at making these like intricate stories. But like I feel like especially after 3 and then 4 and then fucking like Skyrim, all these games dropped all the RPG mechanics. Well, not 3. 3 still had them, but Skyrim and 4, they dropped almost every single RPG
Yeah,
mechanic.
yeah.
And
Again, I'm not going to defend the games becoming more streamlined, but that's a completely different argument than whether or not the lore, for example, in the Fallout show is being adhered to the to the lore from the games.
well, okay, we could get back to the show. That I don't even want. I'll cover this video some other time, but I'd rather just keep talking
Yeah.
since we don't have
No.
time. We could just
Yeah,
keep
that's all right.
talking about the
If you
show.
want, I can play the trailer for season 2. I do have that queued up. If you'd like
Yeah,
to look at
we
that for a
could play
second.
that for a bit.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to the Fallout show, okay, like I do criticize Bethesda a lot. Like I feel like they're ruining Fallout. Like especially with 4 and 76, it's clear that they don't understand Fallout. Like
See,
3.
how do you think 4 ruins, or how do you think Bethesda ruins 76? Well, maybe we'll get to 4 if we got the time, but like 76, for example, minus the awful destructive launch, which I mean, everybody will agree was one of the worst things that ever happened. Look at 76 and where it's at now. It's a brilliant game. I don't know if you've played it or not.
I do
I've
play it.
played
Yeah, I have like
it. Yeah,
600
so
hours
how does
in it.
76 not understand Fallout?
So, for instance, well, first off, the art design, okay? If we compare it to Fallout 1, 2, and even 3, the art design is like, I forget what word someone used, but like, it's like this, like, decrepit old, like, it's like, not Neolithic, what is it called? Like, it's like, I forget what art design, but then like in 4 and especially 76, it's all cartoony, like it's retro futuristic. It's not like this like dark grim like architecture where like everything is pretty much
I
like
mean, 3 is retro futuristic as well. I just
Mhm.
like,
well,
yeah,
I
has the
think
art
the
design
art
changed?
design was a bit different though. Like, it still remained true to like the decrepit old like Neolithic looking like style of building and stuff. Not Neolithic. It's some I don't know the word someone used, but I agree with the phrasing. Like the art design of 3 looked very much like 1 and 2, especially if you look at like the boneyard and how that looks in Fallout 1. Like
Right.
they changed it to be like retro futuristic instead of like this like yeah, there was some aspects 1, 2, 3 New Vegas that all had retro futurism, but there was also the I'm talking about strictly the architecture. Like it's like for
Right,
instance
but
in
Fallout 76 exists in Appalachia. That's a
Right. I
very
was gonna say you're talking about different regions of the country, so
yeah.
there is gonna be regional
Like I
aspects
live in
to
the
it.
Midwest. When I go down south to Texas or go out east or whatnot, it looks very different than
Mhm.
where I live in the U.S.
Right, right.
or
I've
in the
I've lived
Midwest.
all over the U.S. myself as well, and I can say that Savannah does not look like here, and
well then
certainly doesn't look like
I think that
Seattle. You know,
I mean,
there's
they could have done different looking architecture, but even Fallout 3 remained true to even the original Fallouts because the architecture looks like it's mostly rubble, but there's like certain aspects that look just like the older games. Like it's this
Yeah,
decrepit,
but
like
they take place again. That's what we're saying is those take place. 3 takes place in D.C. 1 and 2 take place on the East Coast, California. Those are metropolitan hubs. Appalachia is mountain people country. Like we're talking, deep wood folk, woodsy hoodsy folk. Like it's of course it's going to be. visually different. The not just the architecture, but the landscape, the people that live in those areas, because Appalachia is a very different place than
Mm-hmm.
California.
Yes.
To
Yes.
bring up like 76 again, right? Like the problem with 76 also when it comes to lore is like and Fallout and Bethesda has come out and said apparently that 76 is lore accurate. So I bring this up because or canon, sorry, not lore accurate, canon. Like what I'm saying is like I'm sorry, but somehow we have like several different new types of power armor when like it before like when like it's described that T60 in Fallout 4, which is another retcon that's the newest version in like Fallout 4. And they could in Fallout 4 they could have explained it that the Brotherhood produced this armor like after the war with the Enclave in 3, but they decided to make it a pre-war. So T60 is pre-war, by the way. It's not post-war. Like the
Right.
Brotherhood didn't make it when that could have explained how they got them. But
Now
like to bring
I do think though that when you're talking about, you know, a story that spans hundreds of years, and
well, power armor is
well,
new
right,
tech
but
at the end
right,
of
but
the.
just
Let's see what John
let me,
say.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you're talking about a story that spans hundreds of years. You know, the world is a wasteland, and so there are going to be pockets of information that some people just don't really even know about, and they may look at it from where they're at in the world, and there is, you know, these communication gaps that are obviously happening. So
Oh, so
some
this
stuff can,
information comes from the actual loading screens that I would assume is lore accurate. I'm pretty sure when it comes to the T60 loading screen, they say that it's a pre-war design, which I assume is like it doesn't fall under this category of like, oh, this might be lost like knowledge that oh, it's actually post-war instead, you know?
To
well,
be fair, like there's also a difference between what is in a game for gameplay mechanics versus what's lore. Like Resident Evil is a great example. If you look at the lore of just the very first game, Resident Evil, Chris, Jill, Rebecca, and Barry all make it out alive. No
mhm,
matter how you play the game, there's no actual way to get all four out alive. If you're playing as Chris, you can never get Barry out alive. If you're playing as Jill, you can never get Rebecca out alive. But in
right.
lore and canon, they all make it out. So gameplay mechanics versus the canon lore are kind of always going to be at odds with one another.
Right.
I mean, Resident Evil
Well,
came out in
Well,
'96.
no,
Like,
because I agree that I agree with you on that. But when it comes to this in particular, they're creating all these new types of power armor. In 76, there are like 7 different new types of power armor, which they consider canon. When like power armor was something they developed during Anchorage, which is at the close end of the actual like when the bombs drop. This is new
Right.
technology,
But
and they have several different new types.
right, but I'm gonna be real. If you were to ask me, yo, Leon, what is more damaging to lore? A video game with a definitive canon ending that when you play the game, you never even actually see the definitive canon ending because it's not even in the game, or some aesthetic power armor that it doesn't really do anything for the story to serve gameplay purposes. I'm gonna say Resident Evil, and it not showing the true canon ending no matter how you play is a far more egregious thing than different types of power armor. Like,
right.
Well,
And
okay, I think another thing, right? Oh, I'll let John go, then I'll
yeah,
go. You go ahead.
you know, my thought is on this, especially when you're playing role playing games. My run through of the story is not going to be the same as your run through, and even when you play it
Well, it
again, unless you
depends.
specific.
Follow.
Well,
It
no.
depends.
What I'm saying
yeah, I'm finished.
is
Okay.
everyone takes their own approach through this world space, right? And so to
Yeah.
some degree, however you encounter Fallout uh, on your first run through, you might try something different on your second run through. But my version of what that story is my version of it, just like anyone else. And so there might be, you know, certain stuff that's in there that you're all going to experience. But the way that you go through that experience can also kind of shift how you look at it. And so when you if you're so fixated on every little rivet and bolt and everything like
Well,
that
it's not
being in
just like it's
place,
not like one little rivet, right? It's an ocean of rivets that like produce my thinking of why I think like Fallout when it comes to Bethesda Fallout is inferior. Like it's not just one problem. It's like thousands, like not thousands, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's like hundreds of little problems, including some bigger problems.
Right. But what I'm saying is, when you take this for what it is it ever going to be what everybody wants? No, that is just foolhardy to
Well,
think
I
that
would I would just
there's not
go
a way to
on.
satisfy everyone, especially when you're
Right.
talking about stories that are giving you a lot of agency. And so,
Well, it's not about.
when you look at this as a story that they put out, I just take it for what it is, and for what it is, it actually does show how the characterization works within the game. It shows you snippets of side story stuff that you probably wouldn't have seen. You would have encountered it if you were playing through it in a linear kind of narrative. You wouldn't have seen a lot of the things that play out in this, and so it this is a different take on Fallout in the way that it's presented. But in terms of what it's actually telling in the story and things like that, I think it's successful enough in the sense that it might not be for everyone. And if you're very into certain things about the game and this and that, it's probably not going to work for you. But if you could just kind of appreciate it for what it actually is getting right in the broad strokes and actually setting the space and the mindset, and not necessarily trying to code one side against the other as anything more than everyone's flawed, and
Well, the
everybody has
problem with
secrets
Well,
that
and
it,
all this
is
kind
like
of stuff.
I genuinely think that like Bethesda never actually understood Fallout because, and even now they're like there's people in Bethesda who say like, oh, it's always been anti-capitalism, when in actuality like Tim Kaine came out and said, oh, it's not, it never has been about anti-capitalism.
Yeah, but people saying dumb shit is not indicative of it. For example,
But
everybody jumped the gun on Bethesda being like, "Oh, Indiana Jones is going to be woke because we have the guy with the rainbow thing saying modern audience." So it turns out Indiana
Hmm.
Jones was fucking fine. There's I mean, the game was no big deal, didn't have any of that stuff in it. Now later on, there's that dumbass fascist thing that got replicated. That's point is, when it comes to let's use an example of the most famous RPG of all time. I would argue is Final Fantasy VII. Like, is there any RPG out there more famous than Final Fantasy VII?
I think that would probably be the
I
most.
I, I, I think that's probably the bar, right?
modern
Yeah.
one, maybe Baldur's Gate 3.
I still think that more people probably know Final Fantasy VII over
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 because it's been part of the public zeitgeist for long. But the point I'm getting at is that Final Fantasy Tactics, you can get Cloud on your team. That's not canon. It's in the
Right.
game. It was not canon. Like Cloud, it takes place in a different universe. Cloud is not part of that
Well, no,
story or
I
whatnot.
agree. I
Why is it in
agree
there?
that like
Same for fans. Like, so just it be things being in a game or whatnot. If we want to be sticklers to the lore and that everything needs to be
well,
exactly
I think
perfect.
that there's a bit of a difference between like the canon endings in terms of how you play it and canon lore. Like no matter which ending you do, right? Certain lore in locations will always be the same. For instance, you in Vault 111, you will always find out that the security revolted against the scientists from the terminal entries. That's canon lore that no
Even
one
that's
can
not true.
change.
Fallout 3 is a glitchy, buggy game. You can glitch the game to where you get out of the vault as a
No,
baby
no, no.
and
I'm talking about
never get
Fallout 4. The Vault 111 is Fallout
Oh,
4.
yeah, 111. My bad. I was thinking 101. But anyway, you might not find that out if you don't read the files. Like I get what you're saying. The If you play
But
the game as
regardless, that's
intended,
in the lore. Like you can't like no matter what you do. I understand like there's different canon endings, and like Bethesda might say, "Oh, this one is the canon ending versus the others which aren't." But like I also like just saying like there are certain things that are set in stone. Like for
Right. But
instance,
right? And I agree with that. Peter Parker will always become Spider-Man because of a mistake he made with Uncle Ben. Like that's canon in that sense. So I'm not saying the canon is in flux. There's certain things that can't be
right.
changed. What I am saying is that when you're creating something as massive and expansive as an RPG, which the entire basis of RPGs is built around player choice, you are going to have to sacrifice rigid lore
Mm-hmm.
in service of player freedom.
Right.
well, I want to bring you back to some of the before we have to go in like 5 or so minutes or whatever. I do want to bring it back to lore stuff. So another problem I have with Bethesda Fallout in particular is how relevant that FEV is and like the Brotherhood is and everything to every game they make. So first off, we saw FEB be added to Fallout 3, right? Vault Tech somehow got FEV when it was supposed to be only on the West Coast, where like West Tech was still experimenting with it. But then also, the institute got FEV too. So somehow a college got experimental super soldier serum that they were working on, but it's supposed to be a top secret military project. But then also West Tech is someone using FEV in the groundwater in 76. It's like I understand like super mutants are a staple of Fallout, but can we not get new enemies? And also with the Brotherhood, we're gonna find out the Brotherhood is in Hawaii, it's in Canada, it's in Europe. Like they cannot like it's a very big criticism that they cannot let these go. What they should be creating their own lore, not using like bastardizing shit from like.
I don't think that's a bastardization though. I mean, in Resident Evil, who made the T virus? Umbrella, who also has access to it as the story goes on. Tricell, to
Well, that's
Veltro. I
after
mean,
Umbrella is dissolved, isn't it? I haven't played the older game, so I
no,
wouldn't know. But
during Umbrella doesn't actually fall until 2003. Ada steals the samples from Raccoon City in '98 and delivers them to a bunch of different competitors. Like, is there an
okay.
in-universe lore reason for it? There is. So the point is, like, I give it to say with the FEV, but again, this comes down to there are certain, we'll say, staples of the Fallout universe. Like you said, like Super Mutants is a great example. When people play Fallout, they want to see them some goddamn super mutants. So if they have to write a lore reason as to why there be super mutants in Appalachia, that's to service the fans who
Right.
expect super mutants.
Yeah.
Well, on top of that, their iteration of super mutants, like in Fallout 1 and 2, super mutants might be dumb, right? But they were never just straight up savages. They never attacked anyone. Yes, if you anger them, they will attack you. But like they weren't like these like savages that were always hostile, minus these two examples, right? And meanwhile, Fallout 3, Fallout 4, 76, they're all just savages who instead of like having their own like they might be a little bit dumb, right? There are dumb supermutants, but they're not overtly hostile.
Right, but again, that just goes back to lore stuff. Like just with a quick Google search, like I remember there was a bunch of different types of FEV, and yeah, there is West Coast FEV 2, Vault 87 FEV strain, FEV curling 13, modified FEV. Like so, there's uh again, if you're like, hey, why don't they do new enemies or new reasons? Or so, well, we've got lore reasons. There's multiple different strains of FEV that can cause different things, which would be why the super mutants in Fallout 1 and 2 might be different than the ones in 476. Like, is
But like I
I
understand that, but like it's just so weird that like they do these like, oh, these are all hostile. These are hostile orcs, but there's one or two good ones. Like, couldn't you do like a small faction of them who are good instead of just, oh, it's just one or two? Like like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like they're always hostile minus these two examples.
Well, I mean, that seems like you're if you're critical about that aspect of the writing, that's one of those things where when you're doing uh, story design for a game, there's all sorts of stuff that goes into it, and so trying to it's one of those things where you're either going to piss people off because you've gone and done something with that's already established, or you'll piss off people because you're going and bringing in something new. So
right.
it's going to be one of those things. No matter what, someone out there is going to have some kind of negative perspective on it, and so you just have to kind of make your decisions and kind of like well what you were saying about Resident Evil, the lore versus the way the game plays. When you play Metal Gear Solid, right, the ending you either get out with Hal or you get out with Meryl, but they're both alive. When you
Right.
get to Metal Gear Solid 4, so one of these things like when you're playing through a game and what your actual experience is in your playthrough doesn't necessarily relate to what the overall kind of thing is, and so there will be differences from entry to entry,
And,
but then there's also things that they try to have in there that give it a little bit more just stability because it's familiar, and so there you will see stuff like that where
Well,
well,
I just
my final thought on this is that like canon when it comes to games and whatnot, it's very different. Like I'm very much a lore hound, and I want lore to be as accurate and consistent as possible. But that is when you come to movies or books or comics, manga. That is, I think it's far more important for those because that is a static medium, whereas gaming is the only medium that has player interactivity. So you can't be as rigid with lore in the gaming sense, because it is, you have to add that extra layer of interactivity that interfaces the player to the world. So things will inevitably have to be different. Like you said, Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, Fallout. It's, if we're talking just like a book series, Harry Potter, and she fucks up her own lore as she writes along. Okay, that's a problem, because that's a static world in terms of there's no interfacing with the world. You're just experiencing
Right.
it through reading. That's out the window when you have an interactive medium like gaming, where you do, like, by design, have to be a bit looser with it.
Right.
Well,
Right.
there's a bit looser, but then there's also like completely like shitting. Like, I'm sorry, every game seems to has like dozens of like lore breaks. Like, it's not just like this one or two thing. Like, yeah, it might happen a few times, but like each game I can name dozens of like small problems that like eventually grow to be much larger than they should be. But like,
I think
it's
you're
just
kind of
like,
the exception rather than the rule, though, in terms of fandom, in terms of, you you
I
are
don't know, like,
no, I'm just saying, I'm just saying that you are very, very passionate about your fandom with Fallout, right? Whereas, and so it's going to be harder to please you than it is, say, Leon and I right now, we're sitting here. Yeah, I got no problem with the series. I actually think it was quite successful in terms of actually presenting that kind of story and getting it across to people that might not have ever experienced it otherwise. I think it actually is pretty good in giving you a general sense of what it is to even play the games, and also the world that that kind of stuff takes place in. And so, if that's what they set out to do, then they actually achieved the goal. But is that going to be to everybody's satisfaction? Certainly not. There's definitely going to
well,
be
Not
things that.
that, but I would round out by saying there's 6 Fallout games, like, not counting spinoffs. There's
Mhm.
6 Fallout games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 76, and New Vegas. The OG team only did the first 2. Everything after has been Bethesda or overseen by Bethesda in the case of Obsidian with New Vegas. So if anything, I would say Bethesda has more of a claim to the lore than the originals. They're the
actually,
ones that
isn't tactics a bit canon because
not
isn't like
Tactics isn't canon.
a
Yeah,
little bit, it's partial canon.
no, Tactics is not recognized as canon, like at all. Tactics, like, there's stuff in Tactics that maybe is referenced in other games, whatnot, but Tactics as a game is not recognized as part of the
I
canon.
thought that like in Bethesda particular, like they do reference like something in like I feel like the Citadel that has to do with tactics, which is like the Prid, not the Pridwin, but yo, what's up, Seb? Uh
If you show me a source saying that Tactics is canon, fair enough. But based on everything
I'm
I've
not
ever
saying
read,
it's all
Tactics
canon.
is
It's like it's
canon. But
mostly not canon, but some shit is like is referenced.
okay, splitting the nitty gritty hairs of canon. The point is, Bethesda or Bethesda adjacent have made 4 of the 6 main games. At that point, in my opinion, they've laid claim to the canon. People can like the originals. I love the original. I love Fallout
Mhm.
1 too, and I'm never going to take away from them. But modern Fallout has been done far more for the world building, the expansion, the whole nine, than the original Fallout. So I'd say they have overtaken the original. So yeah, that the current run of the canon does supersede.
Right.
Well, there are a few other things I wanted to get out about the show, but I could always talk to you
Well,
about that later.
the nice thing is we have many more shows to come, and with season 2 right around the corner, I'm sure that we'll be able to dip back into the Fallout.
It'll be
Well,
nice to actually watch a TV show again, because I've and you know what? If it sucks, I'll be honest about it sucking. But
mhm,
I really liked
yeah,
season 1, so we'll see.
yeah, and that's where I'm at with it now. Not expecting to actually enjoy it as much as I did, but it like I say, the characterization is top notch. Walter Goggins is amazing. Even kind of answering questions that I never even wanted to ask to begin with. The way that you actually get the reveal about who the ghoul is, and and what that's actually kind of about. There's some interesting stuff in there, and so.
There's this meme going around in a Discord I'm in, the final point, but like it's a
Mhm.
meme where it's like, oh, be the original. Like it's like all the achievements of Walter Goggins, like his character, and it's like he's like the most, like he's inspired so much shit. Like when it comes to like the lore of Fallout, that he's like the most important character in all of Fallout now.
Well, I mean, he's Pip Boy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he
Yeah.
referenced the Pit Boy. It's like there's like a long list of shit that like someone made in a Discord I'm in that I'll probably send to you guys like after stream. That like it's interesting. Like there's so much shit that he's like directly involved in and shit.
Right, and that's part of the reason to make him into a ghoul, so that you can have that connection to the old world, to what's the through line of this narrative. So, I don't know. It like I say, I am enjoying it. I watched it, almost all the way through twice now, and because I actually did appreciate it, I'm going to finish watching it later on today. I'm going to watch the last 3 episodes again, um, because it's actually, for what it is. Is it perfect? Is it going to meet everybody's scrutiny? No, but for what it is, I can actually kind of take it as it's laid out, as being respectful to the overall concept and delivering an actual kind of Fallout like experience that is adapted to linear storytelling.
All right, well let's get off here then. Let's.